So ultimately,
Great
does he
question.
grow as a person? Maybe that's the bigger question. Is
In
he
a
better
way,
off
he
for
grows
this?
a little bit, I'd say, by the end of the movie, because he begins to realize at the end how his actions led him to this point. And he realizes, like, and he's full, and admits that he's full of regret and that he just wants to get rid of the regret at this point. So
Right.
that's why he becomes a witness at the trial, because he's done and he realizes he needs to do better. And so in a way, he's trying to fix what he's done by being a witness. Now, he's not. It doesn't solve everything, and it's still like he's still like has some issues, but it's like a very small attempt at trying to fix things that he did wrong.
So I agree, sort of. Um, but I actually did give him anything for this on this
Okay.
movie, and so the reason is because that ending bit, right, where you're sitting with Ernest and he's sitting there with his wife and she asks, like, what did you give me? And he's not the smartest chip off the block, but he knows at that point that what was giving her probably wasn't insulin, probably wasn't helping her, and
Hmm.
when he realizes that, he should have fessed up. Like if he really valued his wife, like he said he did, and he was willing to give up all opportunity to stand against his uncle and have the benefit of that lawyer and all that stuff. uh he should have stood against, like, basically he had the opportunity to stand with his uncle, have all the professional lawyers, all that stuff, or be an expert witness against his uncle and testify against him. And he decided he would choose his wife and testify against his uncle. But then when he faces his wife, he goes, "Oh, I just gave you insulin. It was just insulin." Even though he knows it's not insulin. And so he lies to his wife right after the, the hearing. And it almost, it
Well, did he
feels like
even
a
know it wasn't
reversal.
insulin at that point? Because I got the impression in that scene, like he starts to realize in that scene that maybe he didn't give her insulin, like, and that's like almost like a revelation in that moment to him.
I mean, I think
So I mean, I
you
don't
can
know. Like, there's a
get,
part of me
sure.
that wonders that if like, because he probably didn't think about it too much before that, and it's almost like in that
Well,
scene when she asks him that, it's like it's almost like she catches him off guard. It's like, I actually don't know what I gave you now,
I
but
mean,
he
but
still
then,
says insulin.
right, well, that's the thing. Like,
So and
even if
so,
that's true,
mhm,
which I don't think it's true, because he
mhm,
clearly tasted it for himself to test what it was. So he wasn't convinced that he was giving her insulin, and he knew he was adding stuff which definitely wasn't insulin to the
mhm.
mix. So even if he still was coming to that realization in that moment, right? The right answer in that moment is not to say, "Oh yeah, 100%, I was doing the right thing here because you got sick and got worse, and now you're better because you're off it." I don't think it adds up. I personally, I felt like that scene destroyed his character arc, and that was my biggest
Hmm.
beef with it. Is you took 3.5 hours to take this terrible man down a terrible journey that made him a worse man, and then at the end, when he finally realizes he's done something wrong, he decides to do what he can to make it right. And then when he looks his wife in the eyes, he goes back to lying. And it makes him just as not just as despicable, but pretty much pretty despicable compared to where he was
Hmm.
before.
Yeah.